and little kids being killed. What kind of specialty equipment do you need? Negotiators, really? As children are being murdered? One 11-year-old child says she smeared herself with a friend's blood to convince the gunman she had already been shot to death. Another fourth grader who survived the shooting said that police told kids inside to call out for help while the shooter was still shooting. Then the gunman killed the student, followed police instructions, and called out for help. So if you're wondering why police waited an hour for negotiators to talk to a gunman who's indiscriminately murdering children, you're not the only one. They were asked about this at the briefing today. Was the door really barricaded? Was it just locked? Police wouldn't respond to a simple question like that. Why?
I got you. Yes, sir.
You guys have said that he was barricaded. Can you explain to us how he was barricaded and why you guys cannot breach that door?
So I have taken all your questions into consideration. We will be doing updates. We will be doing updates and answer those questions.
So 2 days after this massacre, authorities are slowly admitting that everything they told us was in fact untrue. There was no school resource officer. They're not even sure if the door was barricaded. These matter, these questions. If you wanted to stop mass shootings in the future, figuring out how this happened would be the place to start. But of course, there's nothing in Joe Biden's latest executive order on policing in the memory of St. George Floyd that addresses anything related to the shooting. And nothing under consideration for Mitch McConnell, who tells you he cares about the facts above all, will do anything to punish police officers who hide while children die. Because the point of this is not to protect children. Obviously, you may have figured out it's to blame you for what happened in Uvalde because you dare to exercise your constitutional rights. And if you do dare to exercise your constitutional rights, according to MSNBC, you're complicit in mass murder.
The truth is, not by a policy defect, but by design of the Republican Party in this country, every kid in every classroom is exposed and vulnerable to a shooting.
It absolutely is partisan because there's one party that's refusing to pass gun laws.
The fact that we leave kids to go through the rituals you're talking about, vulnerable to this kind of slaughter, is a political decision.
Please stop thinking that there is some body count, some level of brutality and carnage that will move them. These Republicans and their two pet Democrats. That the rivers of blood will one day run deep enough.
These ghouls, drawing politically convenient conclusions, accusing people who have no connection whatsoever to this massacre of murder, all on the basis of no evidence, and then when the evidence emerges and it doesn't comport with the politically convenient story they want to tell, they simply ignore it. But the rest of us should not ignore it. We should not avert our gaze. We should demand the truth. We should demand to know what happened. The children who were murdered deserve at least that. In a moment, we're going to speak to our friend, who happens to be the mayor of Uvalde, Texas, Don McLaughlin. First, we're going to speak to Ryan Petty. He's the father of Elena Petty, who was murdered at the Parkland school shooting. He's also commissioner on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Commission, which investigated that massacre, and a member of the Florida State Board of Education. Mr. Petty, thanks so much for coming on. Even now,
thank you for watching.
As we just tried to explain, there's a lot that we don't know, but we do know that the
every day
initial
it's something
version
new.
so far from the apparent truth that it makes
Thanks
it
to
makes
my
you
new
wonder.
subscribers, and please subscribe.
Yeah, Tucker,
I've been telling you to comment, but I can't turn the comments on.
You describe the timeline
So,
of events and what we
for right now, no comments, not by my
angry.
design,
And I hear
by
the
Facebook
anguish in
or
the voices
YouTube
of those
design.
parents that were begging law enforcement to do something, and I remember
But
back
thanks for watching,
to
and
Parkland and learning that the school
please
resource
subscribe
officer
for
at
more.
Parkland stood outside for 48 minutes, and I'm
And
having
don't forget to check out the rest of the videos on my channel.
Look, we're early in the
We're a variety
investigation.
channel.
I
There's
understand
music
we don't
videos,
know everything, but when
original
stories
songs
change as radically as they have over
by all the
the past 2
writers,
days, and law enforcement can't give us a
and
straight
other variety
answer
stuff.
about their response,
Have fun on the channel.
people should be angry. My heart goes out. My heart breaks for these families.
Thanks
Well,
for
yeah,
watching,
because,
and
I mean, we're being
God
told that
bless.
we need to turn America's elementary schools into like a checkpoint at the Gaza Strip border. We need to militarize them. But what's the point of any of this if the people in charge of keeping our kids safe
and demand your rights.
refuse to engage with an active shooter?
Demand to know what went
I'm
on here.
appalled at what I believe has happened, or at least what we think has happened so far. The fact that, look, for 12 minutes, the shooter was outside shooting. And then he went into the school, and 4 minutes later, police respond. But they were ill-prepared for the attack. They didn't have body
These
armor.
poor little babies.
It doesn't appear like they had rifles and the ability to get into the
Or
classroom and
end
stop
up in a
the killing.
political ploy.
So they sat outside for what
Is my
appears to
take.
be 40 minutes, waiting for a tactical response team to come in and address the threat. This is appalling. They should have been prepared. First of all, this shooter should
They
have
should have
never
been
gotten
prepared
onto
for
the
the White
campus,
House, too.
walking into what appears to be an unlocked
all-
door,
all
unchallenged
bullshit.
by anyone, and able to breach security
Just to blame the
and
Republican
no
Party.
SRO on that campus. I can't believe, after all we know, that all of
Because
these
Biden's
attacks,
numbers are so
that
low.
there were so many
36%
failures yet
disapproval
again
rate tonight.
in Uvalde.
What a story. Ryan Petty, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So at the heart of all of this is the town of Uvalde, Texas, about 60 miles from the Mexican border. As it happened, we've been to Uvalde. We know the mayor there. It's a really nice place. And it's been at the center of the national immigration story for the last couple of years. Uvalde's been through an awful lot, and it's going through even more now. Tom McLaughlin is the mayor of that town, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for coming on, and our heart
Sorry for
genuinely
moving
goes
the
out
camera.
to you and to the people
Like I
of
explained
your
before,
town.
I only got one down.
It must be bewildering to see Uvalde at the center of this tragedy, but also at the center of a national debate over gun control and all these bigger issues.
I know we're moving the camera. It doesn't look professional,
It
but
is,
we'll
Tucker.
get
I
there.
mean, my heart breaks for these families. You know, I don't even know what to say. This is senseless.
The more
should have never
subscribers
happened.
get, the better I can make the channel.
The hearts are broken in our community.
So
this
thank you to
tragedy
all our
is
new
senseless.
subscribers.
It should have
And
never
if you're
happened.
not a subscriber, please
It
subscribe.
does seem like from the, and I know
Like,
that you're
comment,
caught
like,
up
and
in
can't
what's
comment, so
happening
like,
in your town, the
hit that
unimaginable
bell.
thing that just happened. But outside of Uvalde, what has happened
Keep you up to
there
date
is
on the
being
latest.
used as a kind of football in the game of politics. Are you aware of that? Do you have a sense of what people are using this tragedy for in Washington?
You know, Tucker, this situation is bad enough. My heart breaks for these families to have this. You know, there may need to be a discussion on gun control or gun rights and different things. But this country is so divided right now because we have two parties, a Republican and Democrat. And both
If you ask
parties
Whoopi,
have
she's
taken
gonna
America
punch us in
either
the
my way
face
or the highway.
to
We
take our
elect men
guns.
to go to Washington, sit down at the table, and negotiate and get. Nobody's going to get 100% what they want, and we can come up with good common sense laws. You know, tragedies like this should never happen in America. It should never happen, and it's so sad. It's heartbreaking.
Are you able, in your position as mayor of the town, to get a straight answer about what happened? Because it's been very hard for the rest of the country to learn even the basic timeline. For example, were parents told by police, the video seems to suggest that they were not allowed to go inside to rescue their own children?
Well, Tucker, I can tell you this. I mean, as soon as I found out that we had an active shooter at the school campus, I went there. There were parents outside, but, you know, as far as the law enforcement,
They're messing
there
with
were
mama
parents that
bears
wanted
and
to go
papa
into the
bears
school
again.
and that. There was a large presence of law enforcement when I got there. There was DPS, there was Border Patrol agents, there were police officers, there were sheriff deputies. You know, at this point, I don't know all the answers. It's still an investigation. We've talked to them, but we haven't gotten the answers yet. But I can tell you that school has 620 kids at it. And what I did see was officers shielding themselves and bringing kids out of classes. And you know, if this timeline was truly an hour, it's unacceptable. Like I said, it's so tragic.
Well, if you're the mayor of the town and you can't get straight answers just yet, then we're all in the same boat, but I assume that we will.
No, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us, and again,
Thank you and God bless.
most sincere sympathies.
See you next one.
Thank you.